Good morning, everyone. Microphone check, screen check. Looks like everything is working correctly here. Good. Welcome. Hopefully everyone is able to rest up, get ready for the day ahead, all that fun stuff. Hopefully you all had a good day yesterday as well. I had to duck out with my daughter sick and all that fun stuff. It's never actually fun, but got all that taken care of. She's still not doing so great, but we got a few more tests to do, and we'll see how things progress. But we did get the COVID test back, and that was negative, so that's always a good thing. We'll take it day by day, I guess. All right, let's see here. Before jumping in, as always, on the left side of the screen there, make sure to read through the Live Trader Morning Prep PDF. Very important to go through and understand everything that is inside there. And just a quick note for you all before we jump on in. Please keep in mind that the YouTube broadcast does have between a 5 and 30-second delay, depending on where you're logging in from, which will definitely impact the timeliness of what I'm talking about. Also, just wanted to take a quick second to give a shout out to all of the latest members that joined yesterday, last night, overnight, all of that fun stuff. Thank you so much for the support. I'm pumped to have you on the SSFTG fam. If you aren't a member yet, you have a few different options to check out if you're looking to further your trading education and career. Here on YouTube, you can check out the join button below the stream. The YouTube family gains access to the extended hours trading room, which continues after the morning session from about 10 until things slow down, 10:30, 11 o'clock, somewhere inside there. Every member also gains permanent access to the Discord chat server, and of course, you get the awesome badge next to your name on YouTube to show your support, and it just looks cool. To understand what we're doing here every day, look no further than the Day Trading Academy. This isn't a quick little lightweight PDF guide that you're going to be going over on an afternoon. There is a getting started jumpstart section, but the actual course itself, you've got about 19 hours, actually a little over 19 hours of study material, course material, homework, review, etc. There's a lot there, so you better tuck in. And then finally, the big one, VIPs. They have exclusive permanent access to our non-delayed stream covering the entire morning session from 9 until we close to ensure that you are on the fastest connection possible, so there's no delay or latency, and that you don't miss any beats along the way. Alongside that, VIPs also have access to our monthly VIP webinars, private VIP events, one-on-one scheduling access, all kinds of cool stuff. So whether you're here for the very first time or you're a seasoned veteran over on the Zoom stream, welcome. I'm glad to have you trading alongside me today and analyzing these crazy markets of ours today. Let's take a look at some news, take a look at some charts, see what's going on for today to give us an idea of what to expect. Don't forget to grab your morning DP levels. Those are posted for you this morning there. And then once you've got those, let's take a look at the news. Make sure we've got all the news covered. As far as the news calendar is concerned, I mean, it's Wednesday, so we've got crude oil inventories, but that's really about it. Inventories are forecasted at a negative 1.05 million. And if we look at yesterday on Tuesdays, we have the API report, which gives us kind of a heads up of what to expect for the crude oil inventories. Those came out at a negative 0.439. If we compare that, excuse me, to what we're expecting for today, well, right around the same area, -1, -0.5, somewhere inside there. They're both expecting around about the same number, so we'll kind of wait and see how that wants to come out, but that's really about it. No other news that we're going to have to worry about there. Let's jump over to the bigger picture here. Looking at the NASDAQ, as far as the major movement that's going on here, it's fairly obvious that this thing kind of broke out and constricted into a very similar pattern. We had this sort of wedge-ish thing going on, and then broke out again and created another kind of wedge-ish sort of thing. And now we're breaking out again, and we're sort of creating this little bit of a wedge-ish type thing again. We just kind of keep wedging, but there's not really any larger pullbacks going on. We're getting these small little ones. This one barely, I don't even think it actually physically tested the L2. And this one was barely an L1. They're very, very small pullbacks. And yes, we did rotate off an L5 and L2 as expected, but given the fact that we haven't pulled back, and given the fact that we have a divergent high going all the way across the highs that's not stopping, that would lead us to believe that a deeper pullback may be necessary. And if we're looking at the deeper pullback perspective, the last bigger one that we needed was an L2. That one really didn't hit, and that might be what we're looking to come back to. That would push price down to the 13,475s, down to 412s. And, I mean, along with that, that lines up pretty nicely with that -1. We got that previous double top. We've got that inside low there. It's all kind of stacking up for some nice support down there if it can get a little bit lower. Whether or not that'll actually happen, well, I feel like we've been waiting for a pullback for the last week on NASDAQ, but play it by ear, I guess. Over on the S&P, we've got some good continuation to the upside. Same thing. We've got the overall wedge here, and the wedge, I mean, we kind of broke out, I guess. If the buyers were trying to hold this as support, we haven't gotten any follow-through. We just need a bit more proof. We need something of a little bit more substance to tell us that the bulls have either taken over or that the bulls are going to need that deeper pullback. Deeper pullback lines up pretty nice around that -1. Got that nice inside swing. That would be the bottom of the double bottom that we had there. We've got an undertow going across the high, suggesting a deeper pullback anyway. There's a lot of things that are saying, hey, you might want to be a little on the cautious side here. We do have an L5 rotation off the lows. Once it popped up to the highs, it was an L1. That's not very typical. So if we do get a deeper pullback, the L2 is the major objective, and that lines up almost perfectly with that with the lower side of that -1. Man, lots of stuff on a deeper pullback. We just got to actually get it. Gold, excuse me, gold is continuing to the upside. I mean, finally, what a mess this thing was. It did eventually finally continue to the upside. It was stuck in this range for a really long time. The big tell here was that it was just higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, all the way up. And when it did actually get a lower low, it immediately failed. It went right back up again. So it was fairly obvious that buyers are still buying the lows. But realistically, there just wasn't a super clean way into that. It's just kind of a big, nasty, sideways gross. We have more continuation to the upside, I suppose, but realistically, it looks like it's just not ready. Might need a deeper pullback. Get back down to those 1890s. Somewhere inside there could be very interesting. Over on crude oil. Oh, man. 3 press bottom on the lows. Worked out beautifully for a rotation to the upside. I say beautifully. If I remember at the time, it actually did it very vindictively, where it was like 3 in the morning, but it went screaming higher anyway. All things considered, went raging to the upside, and a lot of sellers are going to be looking to sell the L1. That didn't work. Sell the L2. That didn't work. Sell the L3. That didn't work. Sell the L4. That didn't work either. Sell the L5. Maybe. They're running out of, I mean, they're running out of time. They hit a brick wall up here in the 6660s, or 6640s rather, and now it's starting to roll back to the downside. All things considered, I mean, the way that it stands at the moment, that's kind of the wedge. That's kind of the breakout. A lot of traders are at the very least looking for a deeper pullback. And that deeper pullback, well, we don't even have like an L3 off the lows. I mean, if it is going to pull back, I guess an L3 now would be better than nothing. That'd be back down towards 64. That would also be down at the -2, which is lining up really nicely with some of that previous VVP action, or POC action. We also had some previous swing highs, major lows, etc. Lots of interest back down there towards the, just underneath 64. That'd be the hot spot. That's a big move from where we are now, though. I mean, it's Wednesday. Maybe inventories take it down there. Who knows? Over on the euro. I mean, the euro, we've got this big range. I mean, it's not really doing anything. That's the problem. We've got this range. It was looking like maybe it was a wedge that was trying to break out higher. But then that failed, and now we're rolling back underneath the lows. I mean, it's just a mess. The buyers are obviously trying to get something going here, but they're certainly not interested at the top. Everybody gave up at the highs, and that would lead me to believe that I've got to look for deeper prices. -1.5, something like that. A -1.5 from that perspective on that most recent roll to the upside, at least. It was an L4. L2, L1, L1. Deeper pullback to that confusion L3. Oh man, that's right on top of the negative. Everything lines up real nicely around that L3. I don't know if the euro is going to be able to get something like that, but that L3 zone's nice. Over on Bitcoin, nice little pullback Right back down to settlement. The market has broken above those previous highs, and if there is a wedge top, they found it. Getting a little bit stuck here. Seems like this is a, I mean, seems like it's a pretty straightforward V bottom, but a lot of times with these V bottoms, they want that quick little pullback. That inside low, like 36,500s or so. That could be a really nice spot. And then over on Ethereum, I mean, similar situation. We knew this move to the lows was nothing more than a trap. We talked about that. I posted it all over Twitter. I mean, we blew this thing up on 2,000 and how that was just a major zone of interest, and it's gone back above it. And notice one key thing here. A lot of times when you have those breakthroughs of support that do actually end up becoming support, it just took it a second, you usually get that inside pullback. The only inside pullback they had was this one, way down here. But if you look at the $2,000 mark, which is very obviously where some support came in here, they broke back above, but never came back. So if there is going to be a flash crash or something crazy, a better spot, right back to 2,000 again. I doubt we're going to get it. It would be more interesting to see like 2380s. But man, a nice little dip down, a malfunction on Coinbase, because I mean, let's be honest, out of all the places that's going to malfunction, that's going to be it. Hey, you might be able to get Bitcoin back at what was it, $1 or a penny the last time Coinbase had a malfunction like that? All right. Over on the US session. Zoom out a little ways here. Start off on the daily. Why is this on Bitcoin? What happened? NQ. You know what? And that's... Come on now. NQ. It should flip everything. Oh, because that chart was color linked. I got it. Okay. I love it when you realize you did something stupid and it clicks a little too late. Anyway. We've got the the overall continuation of the upside. We've got the bull engulfing candle off of that last move to the downside, and that bull engulfing candle, the big clue here is, what are they going to do after that bull engulfing candle? Do buyers take profit on that? Like, were buyers buying on this big wick back here and they see this move up and they see it as a chance to take profit off of those previous closes, opens, etc.? Do we see this dive back down again? Is this a huge bear bar, like a twin reversal? You know, a lot of interest is on what happens on this very next candle. And sure enough, it actually closed not only bullish, but it didn't even come back to retest that high. And that creates bullish gapping. So if we measure from the low to the closest point that the market came, that gives us upside gapping objectives from the daily perspective of where this may want to try to go. And from the daily perspective, that's up at around 13,857.75. And if we look previously, that makes a lot of sense to see the market want to migrate back up into this area, because this is where the last time the bulls tried giving it a shot to the upside, gave it a shot to the upside. We're back to that L1. This is a huge resistance zone. So, I mean, if they are able to break higher, they've got some gumption. They've got something that might get them going. But if it fails here, it wouldn't be a surprise to see it come back down to maybe even let these earlier sellers back out, back down to those lows. More likely, buyers will probably start trying to come in around the 13,566s, redefend the top of that bear bar. We'll have to wait and see. Very bullish coming into today, though. My only concern is that we're rejecting off the top of this L1. And if shorts are looking for long-term shorts, like swing shorts, etc., this is where they're doing it from. And their stops are above the highs, and their targets are nowhere near where we are now. Their targets are going to be back down here, potentially even down to a new low. So, I mean, you've got sellers who are looking for an incredibly high reward versus risk, but their risk is putting their stops at all-time highs. How about you? It seems like it's a really stupid idea to do on the NASDAQ, which is why this is a low probability trade. And as a low probability trade, it has to offer up a very high reward. which is exactly what this does. So a lot of sellers, it may not even be on very big size, but a lot of sellers will be looking to build up in this area to try to get one of those swing Hail Marys to the downside to see if they can get that drive down sub 13K again. Got to know where we are, even if I don't necessarily like it, or even if it doesn't jive with the story that I like or want. It's there. Looking at it from this perspective on the NASDAQ here, if we go from the last time around on the lows to the last time around on the highs, that megaphone top is obviously not helping anybody. But if we go back to this previous area, this is where the sellers originally kind of built up, and we saw them defend. Right? We know that the sellers came back in and tried to drive the market to the downside. This is where the earlier buyers came in and got out of break even. And when they came back to try to redefend that area, not a soul showed up for that redefense, and it just got screaming to the upside. Myself, unfortunately, got stuck in that rally to the upside and for a very long time until it finally gave a break even. So this was a nasty drive to the upside that I still don't think has allowed all of the sellers to get out. If you were agile or had some flexibility, you were able to get out of it relatively unscathed or potentially even profitable. But there are going to be a lot of other sellers who have not been able to get out of this yet, and that's their objective at the moment. If we look at this from the bottom to the top, because we do have a few zones of interest here, let's bring this up to this lower high that just formed. Let's see what kind of volume we're working with. See if anything weird's happened, and if anything's changed. Okay, so it's the same story that we saw over the last few days. This is that break-even dive. They finally got the break-even dive. They got the heck out after the break-even dive. But the concern is that it never rolled up to a new high. That's a huge problem. Like a massive problem. If this starts breaking back underneath this point, that is now potentially sellers taking back over on that swing perspective. So, although I do want to be bullish, at the very least, if we start getting underneath this low, I have to assume that the market's going to want to try to come back down to fill in some of this VVP action that was left behind. So, in the short term, if the buyers don't show up, we might have to switch to sell side, based on the 60-minute at least. That POC is going to be a big zone of interest today. Zooming in a little bit closer to the 15-minute, we already know where that POC is because we just saw it on the 60-minute. But if we look at the most recent pullback and we kind of see what's going on here, we've got this inside low. This is what buyers would assumably be trying to get going from the top to the bottom. Use green for this. From the top to the bottom, buyers built up their average, hovering right around the lows, right around the previous swing low. It's no surprise they accumulated into that bottom. What a shock, right? Once it started continuing back to the upside, they broke back above, and we've got the continuation higher. But again, the same problem persists. They did not make a new high. That's a really big red flag. That's a problem. We might have some support that's coming in. You can definitely see that support, and this dive down might be nothing more than earlier sellers who were once again trying to short up here, maybe getting out at break even plus, etc. If they were shorting too late, they're finally being given a chance. So by no means am I saying this needs to be sold now. This is still very, very strong potential to shift right back into bullishness. But if it is going to pull back a little bit further, maybe down to those 645, 650s, it might make a bit more sense. If it starts breaking through that, then we're probably going to go even deeper. And deeper in this case, we'll go to that higher low. That's fine. That puts us down at around the 13,430s, which that's a pretty sizable drop at that point. Asian and Euro sessions, I mean, technically they're up, I guess. Barely. So, I mean, I guess it's there. Man, this price action here is nasty. The one big thing that does stand out through all of this choppy, nasty, sloppy mess, huge divergence coming across the highs. Further dictating, again, that a deeper pullback may be necessary here. And a deeper pullback, well, we've already kind of built the platform for that. There's already a lot of bearish pressure coming in here, and if it starts breaking down too far, that pressure might just swarm. Again, just keep in mind, my daughter's home with me again today. Yesterday, we took the day off. My daughter stayed home with a really nasty seal, barky cough kind of thing. We got the COVID test results back. Those are negative, thankfully. But we do have another walk-in clinic thing today, just to double check, make sure it's not like strep or something. Because you tally off one thing, but that doesn't mean it's not something else that's equally or potentially just as bad, depending on previous conditions. So she is home with me. If there are a few distractions or interruptions or noises in the background, that's why. Moving in a little bit closer here on the NASDAQ to kind of see what's going on in the closer term. We can see buyers are attempting to defend these lows, and this is by no means a quiet area from the buyers. The buyers are definitely defending this zone. Excuse me. Excuse me. On this pullback, Bitcoin, on the shorter term, at least, has a potential bounce zone at around the 39,210s, depending on your data provider. Price is really, really stacked up. Bitcoin's starting to get that bigger pullback. Just need to go a little bit further. Ethereum also pulling back nice and deep on Ethereum. See if we can get a little bit more follow through on what these traders want to do here. On the very short term on Bitcoin, there have been so many bear bars to the downside at this point that I have a hard time believing on the 5-minute perspective that there won't be another follow through secondary leg, something like that. As long as there's no crazy exhaustion or anything, it would make sense for sellers to have one more attempt. Just be cautious because this is a major zone of bullish support down here. Got the open around the corner here in about 4.5 minutes. All right. And here it sits. Everything just kind of went to sleep. What the heck just happened? Typically, if I'm shorting Bitcoin, it's on something like Femex or some kind of exchange like that. I'm not trading the future side of things. The margins and the volume and all of that, it's just not desirable enough yet. Maybe that changes in the future, but I mean, I just don't understand why if I were looking to trade Bitcoin, why I wouldn't just use one of those exchanges. You know what I mean? Like, you can transfer the money in within minutes. your trading profits you can transfer out. Depending on the exchange, sometimes once or twice a day they do withdrawals. Others, like, depending on if you have a subscription to them or not, will do like once an hour. I mean, I just don't see a purpose if Bitcoin's the primary goal why you would trade futures. I think the money would be better served trading it on an exchange that's designed for it. You know what I mean? Not to say there's anything against Bitcoin futures, and I'm glad they're there, and I'm glad we have them as an option, figuratively and literally. But I just don't see a point. At least not with the commission rates that they threw on those bad boys. Or margin rates, I mean. Come on, NASDAQ. A little more bearishness to the downside. A lot of traders will be looking to pick this last move up. If you look at it from the pre-market, that higher low move put in the volume node back up at the top. So they don't even have a bottom-weighted POC, although you can see where they did try. So far, sellers are still kind of winning the fight. Which doesn't help what we were just talking about. Sellers still owning the conversation as it seems. Candle gapping to the downside. Not quite down to the Euro session lows, and there's a metric ton of support down here with the open right around the corner. Dangerous location to try to be going long. Very low risk. If you're wrong, the stop's just below the lows, but sheesh. All it takes is one quick volatility pop at 9:30 and you're out. Speaking of which, 1 minute. On the S&P, I'm not so sure it's actually going to be able to get it, but 186 quarter or so? The crap? Oh, great. Well, I didn't like that at all, did it? I have a bugged order on my screen. Wonderful. But why? Did it not like the data series? Well, it's going to open in a second here. Can I? Oh, I can't move it. What? Okay. Cancel all. Awesome. All right, well. On the NASDAQ, nice little pop higher here. Ooh. Big zone of interest on this move. What happens if I put another one? Oh, it doesn't even let me? Wait, hang on. Oh, I can't place an order for anything. Awesome. Hang on 1 second. Yes, shut down NinjaTrader. Fantastic timing. Hang on. Give me 1 second. NinjaTrader's giving me a run for my money. The NQ waits for no man. Yeah, I know, right? Let's see here. Are we good? The joys of just like when you get the news the news anchors doing it, you know, doing it live. I think everything is good. Sorry, checking a few on my screens. I'm trying. I'm going as fast as I can. All right, Coinbase data. Please don't mess anything up. All right, it's going to. I think we're good now. Right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Note to self: don't. Ninja doesn't like it when you place pending limit orders on a data series that's not open yet. It's not a fan of that. Noted. Got it. Can I? No, the big check. Okay, I can place orders. we're in it. We're better now. We're good. All right, sellers trying to get this thing going back to the downside. They've obviously already rotated lower. The big concern here is how big of a level of support this is. Zoom out a little bit further here. Down at these lows, we can see that there's just a metric ton of support coming in, and they're failing the moves. And bull bars like this are not helping sellers at all. We do have the first 5 minute in, so let's get that first 5 minute over here on the S&P. That is at 92.25, and on the NASDAQ, that is at 702.5. All right. See if bulls want to migrate back up towards those 702 halves. It's going to be, oh, geez, okay. Well, there it is. Now, this is also a retest of the area where earlier shorts put the pressure on. So this is kind of a big spot here. Sellers looking like they're coming back in again. I like this for a short opportunity to the downside. See if we can get that initial push. There we go. Beauty. Get a little jump back up towards those maybe like the 95s-ish. Can they get a snap back up there? Nice little doji, so it's not too concerning. Come on, a little bit more. Oh, man, it got close, and the sellers just slapped it. There we go. Oh, I didn't get filled. No. All right, I didn't get a fill on that pop. That's not great. See if sellers can follow through with a little bit more conviction to the downside now. Beautiful sell bar for continuation to the downside. Ooh, I got a bad fill when I hit the bid, though. Ooh, I think I only got like 4 or 5 ticks out of that. That sucks. All right, still a little bit sloppy at the open. We've got a little bit of poppy sloppy market movement. Volume's a little bit jerky. Even buying bid, selling ask isn't saving it. Although I guess in hindsight I would have rather been filled at 4 or 5 than where it is now. Sheesh. What a what a lovely thing this is, huh? I suppose all my drawings are gone too. Did I lose all those? Maybe not. Ugh, man, sellers are really giving it a shot, but I'm not too impressed. Hey, hey, welcome, welcome. Really strong bear bar, but no follow through. 0. It's just like the sellers aren't showing up to the party yet. That's a heck of a bull bar. Bull's trying to kick it back up again. That's why I'm long 2 contracts. That's, oh, 700. Gotcha. Yeah, they definitely got the support there, that's for sure. Curious, still interested in that 86 quarter dip on the S&P. Not so sure it's actually going to get down that far, but I like that spot. Only 940, so we've only got the first 10 minutes or so out of the way. Wow, that was a lot of resistance that just showed up to the party there. Chances are this isn't going to stick around very long. I'm going to look for a short sooner than later. It's very doubtable that it's going to hang out. Yep. Big breakdown. They just, when you have that kind of flush in volume, it's not going to stick around very long. That scares the crap out of buyers. If buyers tried buying into that move and they just got dumpstered like that, they're not going to hang out for very long. Doesn't mean I want to hang on to those shorts for very long, but still, those are definitive opportunities. Nice bull bar back up. If we're looking from the top to the bottom so far on this higher low, assuming that that's what this is, they've got to break back above 91.5 for the bulls to take it. And so far, the way that they moved around this doesn't look too good for the buyers. If they were looking at this higher low, does it change? Oh, that makes it even worse. This is really bad for the bulls here. I don't want to sell this far down. S&P looking for 86 quarter if it can get down there. It's got a little ways to go. Euro session lows are causing some problems, though. Can't quite get the job done. S&P still got 2 minutes left. Bitcoin sellers on the 5-minute did get the follow through to the downside. What a shock. Who'd have thought? Now's their chance to try to pop it back up again. Hasn't quite gotten down there yet on the S&P. Man, it's messing with it, but not quite. We do have a new low now on the NASDAQ, which means that we can project the continued volume farther forward. Let's try that again. Remember, the big springboard on the NASDAQ's just a little further down, just underneath settlement around the 646s. $650s are a psychological obvious spot, but somewhere down there, back towards settlement. Well, I'm not so sure the S&P is ever going to make it back up to the highs, but if it does, I will be interested in selling them. 95.75, 96.75. NASDAQ's got a very nice sell setup there, but that twin reversal on the lows is causing some havoc here. If the sellers are going to follow through, they're going to need to show up to the party. Problem is, it's forcing them to sell super low. All right, 86 quarter entry hits on the S&P. Still a little ahead of settlement, so if it wants to go a little further down, there's still plenty of areas of interest, but this is a heavy overextension, and very likely we see a reversion back to the mean on the nearer term. Still got to manage it, though. Doesn't mean it's got to bounce right this second. NASDAQ, we've got a bit of... I mean, I don't even really want to look at it from the wedge perspective just because it looks so gross. Hang on a second. S&P, 86 quarter for the scalp now. The structure is just so blech in here. It just doesn't look very good. Realistically, if the market's going to want to do anything, I mean, it kind of looks like it's reaching out for that. Maybe a channel, which has a bit further down to go. That lines up pretty nicely with the settlement test, with the gap fill, with all of that. Tested the tertiary entry point, but no fill. Good old bottom tick S&P. Waiting to see if the S&P can get a little bit further of a pop higher to fill 86 quarters off of the settlement bounce. NASDAQ still looks like it's got a bit more unfinished business to the lows yet. 656 or so would be the objective. All right, S&P fills the last one, so I'll give it a little bit of time here, but 85 quarter is where I'm going to be looking to get out of that one for the time being. If it does want to slide a little bit lower, though, we've still got plenty of flexibility. The next zone of interest is going to be the range lows. If it does get that far down without taking out the objective, though, I'd rather try to get my average down there because the swing potential becomes significantly more interesting back up. So I'll allow the scalp for a little while, but if it does want to go a bit further, I'm going to utilize the fact that my average is already down here to my advantage. $82 quarter would be the next potential. Five. NASDAQ's starting to get down there. It's got a little further to go, 655s, but now that we've got a few more candles, it's closer to like 652-ish. Nasty little juke off the lows there on the NASDAQ with a very nice twin reversal. Engulfing bull bar in the lows, still very early in the move, but it would make more sense for the NASDAQ to go a bit further down. From the bigger perspective, looking at swing zones or areas of interest, we're really not in any yet. The NASDAQ, from a swing perspective, we've still got to dip down to, I mean, at least the negative 0.5. So it's got a ways until it gets down there. That's down at 13,550. On the S&P, we are in a zone of interest. This is the retest of the previous wedge top. This is also a retest of settlement, and this is also a retest of the previous triple top. So there's a definitive amount of support here on the S&P when compared to something like the NASDAQ, which is why I like this area. You just got to see them go a little bit further up and finish the job. Nice bear bar back down on the NASDAQ, but it's inside the Euro session lows. And so far, they've missed the bottom of the channel. Not very impressive on their part. All right, I'm just going to drop it there. The S&P just is not giving it to me. It's still a 1.5, but with very high commission cost. Really frustrating the way that that worked out, but of course now that I'm out, that's where it's going to go up to the moon. But seeing as all of that volume is stacking up right at the break-even point and it's still at a scalper's target, which is what I was looking for, I'm not going to get greedy. I'll just accept the fact that it was dirty. Still wouldn't mind seeing if they can climb a bit further up, but now I'd prefer it to be a bit higher. 200s, 201s, 202s. Finally managed to scout my way out of a 75-point hole in the NASDAQ from getting whacked on that reversal in the overnight. Yeah. Up 12 points now. Nice. Great job. Oops. There you go. More so than anything else, not the fact that you climbed your way out of a hole or that there were losses. That's just part of trading. The good job is more in reference to keeping a level head and continuing to trade properly to get yourself out of that hole. That's what the congratulations is for. Sellers trying to push back down again. Fairly obvious that the bulls are losing a bit of steam here. The NASDAQ, I mean, if they're going to pull back to anywhere interesting, 645.50 is the spot. It just hasn't gotten down there yet. I don't trust the overnight. I don't blame you. I tell you what, though, sometimes the overnight can be incredible. It's just never for me. I'm always on the wrong end of it. And the night that I skip, that's the night that I shouldn't have, you know. So I don't usually trade overnight personally. Bulls trying to get more continuation to the upside. Overnights, yeah, exactly, yeah. Those will be the ones where you get that big runner and then you know, you realize it was on sim, or it was the one time that you thought, I'm not going to risk it on live, I'll put it on sim, I'll just give it a shot. And then it actually works, of course. We've all been there. I think if you've traded for longer than a week or two, you've felt that frustration. Worst part is when you didn't realize when it was an accident. Ugh. That's a week wrecker. Yeah, exactly. Bears are still finding resistance off the top of the channel. What a messy, gross channel. There's got to be a better way to mark this up. Like this, maybe? Ugh. I mean, if we tighten it up a little bit. It's hard to ignore this channel. It fits really weird, but it's hard to ignore it. Look at the amount of support that's coming in down here. That's nuts. Longs will definitively be taking supportive bounces off of that. Although, I mean, realistically, we haven't had a ton to work with yet. Bank CEO and Senate and the Fed quarrel speak later. Yeah. We got crude oil inventories right around the corner here at 10:30. 10 o'clock, top of the hour around the corner as well. That's when we transition over to the extended hour session for members. So feel free to get those last morning session questions out of the way, and we'll get those taken care of. Overall, I think we made today work all right so far. With the technical difficulties and everything I had this morning, it wasn't too bad. Having to restart and unglitch orders, and I mean, hey, could have been worse. S&P's making me work for it, but at least the S&P's filling me today. So, hey, you got to pick your battles, you know. What's the anticipation? The anticipation for inventories is to be around a -0.5 to -1. The inventory forecast specifically is -1.05, but the API report was closer to -0.5 mil. So somewhere around there would be the anticipated move. Technically speaking, that would be somewhat bullish, but given the, you know, given what it's cycling off of, I mean, if you look at where we're coming off of, there's one of two things that's going to happen here. This is either a quick little trap that goes screaming to the highs and it finally gets the breakout above 67. Or this gets a false move to the upside, holds like, you know, settlement or something like that, and then just gets obliterated down to 63. There's not many scenarios in between that, given the way that this moved, just because it went straight down and then straight back up again. So, I mean, got a shot, but man, really, really awkward spot. Holding the inside of the channel lows again on NASDAQ. We are also past 10 o'clock. I'm not seeing any questions coming in on the, on the open YouTube side of things. So that's going to do it. If I missed any questions, you can always shoot me an email. I'll get those covered for you from there. Otherwise, though, let's switch over to the extended hours session. For those of you who are on the on this side of YouTube, what? Oh, whoops. Well, anyway, a little bit early, but sure, we'll just keep going through it. I didn't mean to click that yet. I almost ended it. Anyway, that's going to do it. We'll switch over to the extended session for the VIP side of things. You just got to hang out in the Zoom session. You don't have to do anything else. You can just wait. We'll hang out, and we'll switch over. For the member side of things on YouTube, go into the community section. You'll be able to find the link for it, for that there. So for the rest of you, enjoy. Hope you had a great morning of trading, and we will see you all tomorrow morning, all right? Have a good one, and we'll talk to you all later. Thanks.